other federations into a leftist movement which could potentially contest them. Looks like we have a doorstop here. Let's see what he has to say.
It was also tinged with a sadness because we were remembering those 51 workers who died, but we did an excellent thing led by the president of Cosatu to go to the memorial site. So that I found very touching, and I'd like to thank them for making us part of this celebration. So this has been an absolutely wonderful Workers' Day, wonderful messages from Cosatu, from the party, and also from the ANC. Wonderful and successful day.
They didn't boo you today.
No, there's no reason to boo the president of the ANC.
What did you make of your reception that you received, President?
Well, I think we were all well received, and it started off a bit subdued, but as soon as the president of Cosatu finished, she electrified the whole audience, and we were all lifted. And so it was a really good day. Don't look on the negative side, look on the positive side. We have just walked through to greet the workers, and all the workers are really elated. And particularly after we did to the families of those 51 workers who died. And also honoring Mr. Slabet, who risked his own life and went and saved a number of workers. So that we should be grateful for. That there's solidarity in South Africa, and in the alliance, unity is being strengthened, and all of us spoke the same language. We're going to strengthen this alliance and make it strong. When we go to the elections, we are just going to show everyone what this alliance is worth.
Thank you so much, sir. President of the ANC there, in his capacity as ANC President, Cyril Ramaphosa, speaking, of course, after having delivered a message of support, the keynote address being delivered by Cosatu. Expectedly happy with the reception he received. Should point out that there were about a dozen Nahal workers who were singing throughout the President's address. Most of them refusing to listen, clearly distinguishing themselves as members of Nahal. That's also part of the reason why the Cosatu President, Zingiswa Losi, decided to call for maximum worker unity. I'll just try to speak to her for a moment. The Cosatu President, Zingiswa Losi, joining us quickly. Ms. Losi, what did you make of how the May Day celebrations were played out and how the President was received, yourself was received?
Well, I think the May Day was successful, and I think what we had intended for, we have achieved. We have seen, despite all the challenges that workers have, despite all the anger that workers have on the issues, but I think they've managed to understand the purpose of this May Day, and they've managed to restrain themselves and pay respect to the families that were here and to the 51 workers that we are honoring today. And we think that the messages were all received well. It is up to us as leaders of this alliance on what we make out of what happened in this May Day. All alliance partners were well received. We must now build on that to strengthen the alliance, not in what we say, but in what we do. That's the only way that the change will be able to happen.
Were you assured by anything the President said in his message of support in terms of the ANC's attitude towards the alliance?
Well, every leader can say anything at the podium, including Cosatu. It is about what we do. We have a responsibility as Cosatu to hold the ANC to account on what they say, to hold the party to account. So as the alliance component, they have a responsibility to hold us to account. What we say at the podium must translate to action. So whether you believe it or not, it will be about what we do beyond the words that we say.
Thank you so much. Zingiswa Losi is the president of Cosatu. We'll try to speak to another alliance leader here in a moment if we can. Mapaila is the general secretary of the South African Communist Party. Obviously, we're trying to get a moment here to speak to him. Mr. Mapaila, how are you? Thank you so much. Listen, Mr. Mapaila, you're live on Newzroom Afrika. We're reflecting on the speeches for the day. What's your impression of how this May Day rally was held, how this Workers' Day rally by Cosatu went?
I think it was an extremely successful May Day event here, and good messages, particularly from the president of Cosatu, who covered a wide range of difficulties faced by the working class, especially the organized workers at the workplace, the oppression and the exploitation that they are still undergoing by capital, and the necessity for that to change. And I think it was important also on the political aspects regarding the message on reconfiguration of the alliance, because that becomes critical for how the alliance assists these workers to come out of this exploitation by capital. It is therefore very important that also the province organized this very well. We appreciate that.
A key takeaway from your speech was that workers reserve the right to form an independent broad front with whoever they want to. It's something that you've insisted on. Why the need to insist on that point as you address these alliance events?
Yeah, workers' rights should not be limited by organizations, even by alliances. All the time when workers feel it's important to express themselves in a particular way, to take forward their interests, they must do so. And the alliance should not be an impediment for the workers to fully enjoy their rights and to end exploitation by capital. And therefore, that is why the message was to say to government, accept that the capitalist corporations in this country are the most dominant and they are the most exploitative of our workers, undermining political democracy and the rights that workers have died fighting for. And therefore, it's very critical that we appreciate that, and we should not limit them and confine them only to the alliance. But the alliance having the most thoroughgoing transformation agenda, it's important that they belong to them. But those in the state, in government, should not undermine that thoroughgoing transformation agenda, because then it becomes meaningless. The alliance becomes like any other organization, which we are not.
Mr. Mapaila, what's your view on the ANC National Chairperson's comment that the reconfiguration of the alliance proposal is an attempt to liquidate the ANC and remove it as the leader of the alliance?
Well, the national chair of the ANC was completely misguided. In fact, what he said is incorrect. I don't want to say it's a lie, but it's absolutely incorrect. And I think he should reflect on that, retract that statement, because not once have we called for a new party. We are talking about strengthening the alliance, giving the alliance the capacity to lead a thoroughgoing transformation. But if the alliance is captured by wrong forces, even factions of the ANC, we cannot be party to that. But by saying, we are not calling for a new party. We are an independent party in our own right, and we reserve the right to exercise our right as a party that is independently in the alliance. No one is forcing us to be in the alliance. It's our own decision to be there. We can go out as and when it's necessary to do so. At the moment, we feel that the alliance needs to be built, unified, strengthened, and have the capacity to intervene on issues affecting the working class and the public at large. So what he was saying was completely out of tangent, and it was disappointing that it came from someone like him, particularly someone who understood even where this debate comes from. But it's not surprising. Sometimes when people get into particular processes, offices, they get too much consumed by justifying the space where they are in. We are representing the interests of the working class that are feeling the exploitation on the ground on a daily basis. And that's what is guiding us, not even the relations in the alliance.
More officially, anything encouraging coming from the president of the ANC's address here?
Well, he recommitted the necessity for the alliance to resolve difficulties and for government to resolve difficulties. But we want more than words. We have said some of the issues that he raised, particularly around, let's say, the public sector wage. We have engaged this thing. There should have been a resolution by now. And I think that the ministers sometimes are undermining even some of his commitments. But it's beyond that. When the ANC leaders set things that must be done, because we are in government, the leaders in government must comply, not necessarily just undermine what the intentions of the party are.
Thank you so much. The General Secretary of the South African Communist Party there, Mr. Mapaila, speaking to us after the conclusion of the May Day rally by Cosatu. Here in Bethlehem, in the Free State, we'll leave you with these live visuals of the crowd. Still a fairly large crowd here in Bethlehem that had come to listen to the May Day rally speeches delivered by the Alliance leadership but also honoring the lives of 51 Cosatu workers who had died in a bus crash in 2003. We'll be back with more news and insights after this break. But do stay with us on Newzroom Afrika, channel 405, and we'll be back after this.